When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
All right, we're going to be taking a look at Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's economic track record over the last 9 years in just a moment, but we do have some news coming out of Ottawa. Now, the premiers, the provincial premiers, meeting with the Prime Minister and cabinet ministers this morning to discuss the United States, Donald Trump, the threat of tariffs. I want to point out two things. First things first, Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He is wearing, just speaking to media moments ago, and he's wearing a baseball cap. So just imagine the Make America Great Again cap, the red one that Donald Trump wears. Now turn that cap navy blue, and then instead of Make America Great Again, the messaging in the same type of font that Doug Ford is wearing, it says Canada is not for sale. That's the hat that Doug Ford is wearing this morning. The Premier of Quebec, François Legault, is there meeting with his fellow premiers and the Prime Minister, and he just spoke to the media. Here's what he had to say in English.
I think that the first choice, and it's true for Alberta, for Ontario, for Quebec, for everybody, is to have no tariff. It should be the top priority. Then, if next week or whenever there are some tariffs that are put in place, then we have to prepare a retaliation plan. We may have many scenarios. We'll discuss that today. And of course, I don't think we should do that on the public place. It should be internal. Merci tout le monde.
There you go. That's Premier François Legault speaking to journalists just moments ago. Okay, let's switch gears and turn our attention to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and his government's economic track record. Now, the Toronto Star recently published a piece. It was very laudatory towards the Liberal government, saying that they had actually led a government over the last 9 years that has been good for Canadian wealth. Well, Adam Zivo at the National Post, he's got a different take, and he's on the line to tell us about it. Hi, Adam. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back on the show.
A lot of talk about what is the reality of the economic performance of this country and of Canadians over 9 years of Justin Trudeau. What's your take?
The reality is prolonged stagnation and, as of now, essentially a recession. And what I want to emphasize is that the economic stats used by the Toronto Star to make the case in defense of Trudeau's economic record were so misleading that I think it raises some questions about their editorial standards. Anyone with a basic understanding of economics would see that this didn't make any sense. So the first thing that they said is that under Trudeau, the economy grew by 41%. And then they said, in contrast, under Stephen Harper, who governed for roughly similar period of time, the economy only grew by 18%. So that sounds interesting. It sounds like Trudeau actually saw this explosive growth that was twice as fast as what we saw under Harper. But here's the problem. The Toronto Star didn't actually account for inflation. And that matters a lot, because if you see significant inflation, that doesn't mean that your economy is growing. It means that the currency that you're measuring with is simply losing value. And so that's why we have something called real GDP data, which accounts for inflation. In Canada, we essentially adjust all of our figures to 2017 Canadian dollars. There's nothing special about 2017. It's an arbitrary benchmark. And when you look at those numbers, the economy actually only grew by 21.4% under Trudeau, and it grew by 24.4% under Harper. So already, Harper has the better record, and Trudeau's growth is less than half of what the Toronto Star wants you to believe. But here's the next level. We have to talk about population growth, because if you bring in more people into a country, you grow the total economy because there are now more workers, but that doesn't mean that every worker is getting wealthier, right?
It could be au contraire, right? It could be everyone's getting poorer under that scenario.
Yeah, let's say, for example, everyone gets 20% poorer, but you double the size of the population, you're still going to see significant population GDP growth. So when you look at real GDP growth per capita, so per person, under Trudeau, over the course of his entire tenure, we only saw a 0.8% increase in real GDP per capita, which is basically nothing. We've had a lost decade. Under Harper, we didn't see stellar numbers. We only saw a 4.4% increase. But once again, that's more than 5 times the speed of growth than what we saw under Trudeau. So the Toronto Star essentially grossly inflated the GDP growth that we saw under Trudeau, which was essentially nothing, and said it was 41%, and said that under Trudeau, the economy grew twice as fast under Harper, when really it grew at 20% the rate.
Adam,
now,
Adam, I just want to get to what we're talking about, population growth. I wonder if you've had the thought, and I've had this thought over the last couple of years, that perhaps now, looking back, hindsight is 2020, that the reason the federal government was so gung-ho on population growth, so gung-ho on various immigration programs, it was in order to hide the stagnation you talked about. Do you think that's part of it? Do you think that's part of the reason why we've seen these incredible immigration targets? I know they're doing the 180 on that, but up until now, we saw those incredible immigration targets over the years?
We can't read the minds of the people who made these decisions, but I think that is a plausible hypothesis. And that on top of that, I think that bringing in more people props up the housing market, which is something that is important to the current government. Which actually brings us into the next point. So the Toronto Star also said that, look, Canadians, our median net worth soared by 66% between 2016 and 2023. But okay, first of all, I went to Statistics Canada's data set for this, which only covers 1999, 2012, 2016, 2019, and 2023. Don't ask me why. It seems kind of arbitrary. And somehow the Toronto Star got their math wrong. So median net worth only grew by 44%, not 66%. And mind you, this column was written by their business columnist. And then when you look at how the growth is broken down, so between 2016 and 2019, we only had 5.6% growth, which is around half the level that we saw under Harper. Then in 2019 to 2023, we saw a huge increase of 36.4%. Now, what happened between 2019 and 2023? It's COVID-19. During the pandemic, the worth of North American households surged because of skyrocketing home and stock values, along with massive government stimulus. But to say that this surging net worth is indicative of a strong economy or admirable fiscal governance is misleading. We got wealthier because we have a housing bubble and because we borrowed from future generations with debt-fueled stimulus. That is not real growth. I think anyone who has a basic understanding of economics can see that. And I am concerned about this historical revisionism by some of Trudeau's fans because I think it's disrespectful to Canadian families that are struggling to survive today.
And Adam, listen, earlier on the show, we opened up our phone lines and we heard from listeners who genuinely are struggling and unable to make ends meet. So I think this conversation is one that has to be had. Adam, listen, we have to leave it there. I'm going to encourage all of our listeners to go check out your piece. It's in the National Post, and it's called No, Trudeau Did Not Make Canada Richer. Adam, take care. We'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure.
That's Adam Zivo from the National Post.